Origin Jazz Home Studio X, and this is the most important man of DJ, Leonard Lomell, part 2, I guess, remaining video. So far, it's been really interesting. This has been like intense, destroying artilleries, scaling a big ass cliff, and now like making sure that Normandy is a success by holding out road and everything. He's basically have to like think of his own thing on the spot, which I don't know if it's like unique or it's just like that applies to all people that are have that kind of like a lieutenant, right? That's his post. They have that kind of like a rank on the field. But yeah, in Normandy at D-Day, right? He has achieved his objective. He's been told to hold out, and he's like holding out on the road and everything. Now, I'm hoping there is a happy ending here. Like this guy, usually that happens, right? Some insane guy with insane thing he does, like gets shot, does ridiculous shit, and somehow lives 70, 80 years. So I'm hoping this is one of those, but we'll see. That's always one.
Ranger line, and the other two companies are forced to retreat, and by the time Lomell gets word that they're retreating, the Germans are already behind him, and he's completely cut off. So with the rest of the Rangers being driven back and Lomell and Dog Company being the only ones left behind enemy lines to guard this road, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to continue to guard the road to prevent reinforcements from making it to the beach, because that's what the mission is. Back at Point du Hoc with the rest of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, they are boxed in on 3 sides by the Germans, and they have the ocean to their back. They have nowhere to go, and they are just stuck there trying to survive. Rudder finally comes to the realization that Dog Company has more than likely been killed in action since they didn't make it back with everybody else. So with that in mind and needing to keep himself from being overrun, he calls for naval gunfire into the enemy lines, which is actually where Lomell and Dog Company are. The USS Texas begins bombarding that exact area. For the next 2 days, the Rangers at Point du Hoc fight for their survival while Lomell and Dog Company are stuck behind enemy lines, guarding the road while the USS Texas is constantly bombarding them. They pretty much just have to keep their heads down, hope that a large formation of Germans don't come looking for them, and hope that the...
Anyway, is that the one that I saw a video from Electrician, the USS Texas, a dreadnought, who had hand in like bombing the shit out of in Normandy in World War II? That's what his job was, which is like epic when you think about it.
USS Texas doesn't blow him off the face of the earth. Despite all of this, Lomell is still determined to stop reinforcements from making it to the beach, and if they do come marching by, he is going to attempt to do something about it, but with only 12 men, it's almost certainly a death sentence, and luckily, that doesn't end up happening. So while that's good, it is still a very long, very shitty 2 days, because this entire mission was only supposed to be about a 12-hour ordeal. None of the Rangers packed food, they packed very little water. They are all starving, they're dehydrated, and at one point, they all had to start using their helmets as toilets. Then on the 2nd day, the Sherman tanks come rolling up from the beach. They drive the Germans back. Lomell and Dog Company are able to regroup with the rest of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. Lomell reports back to Rudder. Rudder's pumped. He thought Lomell and Dog Company were dead. And then Rudder realizes, oh shit, I've had the USS Texas shooting cars at you guys for the past 48 hours. My bad. At which point Lomell presumably is like, don't worry about it. I've got plot armor. It's no big deal. And again, I'm assuming here, but it's around this point where Lomell goes, oh shit, I got shot 2 days ago. And he pulls up his shirt, looks at his gunshot wound. It's right through the side, through the muscle, misses all the organs, but it's been like 3 days since he got shot, and he has not been in a very clean environment, and his wound is black and severely infected.
Oh! What? Oh!
Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
Lomell immediately gets loaded up on a boat, sent out to a hospital.
Okay, seriously, like, I get it being tough, but what is happening every single minute in your life? Like, in that, like, how intense is that D-Day? That you got shot 3 days ago, you should be in intense pain, not to mention when an infection hits in. You're not just in pain, you're closing in somewhat of a shock element. Not shock, but your like whole body reacts to it. Even if you get shot in one particular part of your body, as soon as infection starts, your whole body, you start to get fever. You start to get pain all over the body because alarms are blaring inside. That's what it is. That's what that is, right? And someone just like, oh, wait a minute, I got shot 3 days ago, and like, oh shit, it's infected. Like, how much outside shit is that intense that you can pay attention to that? This kind of puts into perspective when veterans will talk about like you don't know how all that was, right? You weren't there type of element, and that is so fucking true. Nobody can imagine that. That's insane.
ship. On the hospital ship, the surgeon is like, that's too much for me to handle here, and he gets sent back to Britain. While at Britain, Lomell undergoes surgery, gets treated with antibiotics. After he's recovered enough to actually, be given some kind of an assignment, it's basically determined by the chain of command, like, hey, we basically sent you in on a death mission. You got shot. You're the one that took out the guns at Point du Hoc. You've done enough. We're not going to send you back into combat. We're actually going to put you in charge of this prison, and this prison is full of American soldiers that skipped out on D-Day. And Lomell's not even a little bit interested. He basically goes AWOL, hitchhikes back to the front line, and links back up with the 2nd Ranger Battalion and Dog Company.
I'm back.
So he makes it back to his guys, and they're only like 7 miles further inland than they were when he actually left. And everybody kind of thinks that like the Battle of Normandy was like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan. It was literally 45 minutes and that was the end of it. But the Battle of Normandy was almost 3 whole months. So they're still in the middle of the same battle where he was injured. He's went back to a different country, gotten surgery, and hitchhiked back to the front line of the very same overall major battle. Okay, if you're not picking up on a button down, the enemy literally took out Leonard Lomell and he respawned into the same battle. Okay, this is the most main character shit that's ever happened. So he gets back to the 2nd Ranger.
I was about to say, it feels like Call of Duty, right? Oh, wait a minute. What you talking about? How to do my chores? I'm unfinished. Right, in the middle of the mission, I have some objectives left. Do this and just walks away.
He is immediately given a promotion to Sergeant Major, the highest enlisted rank, and then he is also given the Distinguished Service Cross. Now, the Distinguished Service Cross is the 2nd highest award that you can get, right below the Medal of Honor, which raises a question, why on earth is he not being awarded the Medal of Honor? And the answer to that actually lies with the 1st Ranger Battalion that is currently basically a bunch of living legends after fighting through North Africa and Italy. Their commander, William Darby, they were affectionately known as Darby's Rangers. He felt that the Rangers were not a group of individuals that fought on the battlefield together, but they were one singular entity because that's how tight-knit their team was. So with that sentiment in mind, he kind of declared that Rangers weren't really eligible for the Medal of Honor because they didn't feel that one man should be honored, the entire unit should be honored. So on one hand, that's kind of cool, but on the other hand, it's kind of silly because he still allowed the Rangers to get every other singular individual awarded medal under the sun, including the Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Stars, Bronze Stars.
No, I think that's stupid. Understand what he's trying to do, but even that is stupid. Like he said, you can get all the singular medals, but not the top one. Okay, so if all the other singular one implies like, okay, I'm honoring my team with this, like I did it with together with team, and there was like other stories for patriotism where like the guy whoever received Medal of Honor said like this is not just for me, the whole team. So he can just say that if you want to say that. So that's just stupid. Yeah, why you denying Medal of Honor, right? Yeah, the guy, Leonard could basically just say that this is me and for my entire team, so everybody feels good, right? I mean, I know it's not about rewards, but it's like, there's something, if it's coming to you, right? It needs to happen, man, right? It's about morale and everything, right? I don't know, man. That's just weird. And he did single-handedly, together with the guy, his team, second guy, whatever. He did destroy all the, like artillery there was with the, grenades and things. So that is like something.
So like, why not let him get the Medal of Honor as well? Just seems kind of silly. And Lieutenant Colonel Rudder actually kind of agreed with me. And because of that, when he pinned the Distinguished Service Cross on Lomell's chest, he told him, and I quote, "This is your Medal of Honor." From here, the Rangers are going out on missions, a couple of skirmishes here and there. They end up going to the Battle of Brest. There's this hilltop that nobody else can take called Hill 63. They send the Rangers in. Rangers take over the entire thing. They control the hill until the battle at Brest is over. They've won that. After that battle, Lomell gets another promotion and he gets a battlefield commission to 2nd Lieutenant, becoming an officer. From here, the Rangers get sent over to a place called the Hertzgen Forest. Very, very dense forest, and it holds virtually no strategic advantage to the Allies, but for some reason, the Germans really seem to think it's important, so the Americans are just going to fight them for it. They don't even know why. And here's a kicker and sad/ironic part, but the Germans are actually running on the exact same logic. They also have no need for the Hertzgen Forest, and they don't know why they're fighting there. The only reason they're showing up and fighting so hard is because the Americans are showing up there and fighting so hard. So they think the Americans want it for some type of strategic advantage, and they have no idea why either. So literally both sides of this extremely deadly battle are just operating on, I don't know what you're up to, but fuck you, I'm not gonna allow it.
It's not just that. I think it's like, okay, we don't need that, but we can have them have it as well because it's like a weak point now, right? It's a leak point, not just weak point. So we need to tighten that up or like close that hole. I don't know why I'm having problems with the words. But yeah, we need to close that up. So both sides are basically thinking the same thing and attacking each other. That's how it happens in war a lot of times. Meaningless, stupid shit, but we have to do it because what else are we going to do? We can't have like some certain weak points like that.
So Lomell and the Rangers
What is
end
it,
up
Vulcan
showing
video?
up, and he's thinking in his head, like, okay, I'm an officer now. They're going to send us into battle. I'm going to go take the hard objective, whatever that is. We're going to win. Hooray. But the leadership doesn't really understand how to use the Rangers or know how to use them yet. So they just end up putting them out on the line and tell them to hold this ground and don't let the Germans through. And Lomell's pissed about this because A, this isn't how Rangers are supposed to be used, and B, this job absolutely sucks. You got to remember, it's like October 1944 over in like the Belgium, Germany area, okay? It's super cold, and all these guys are doing is basically hiding in their foxholes, freezing their asses off all day. So this goes on for like a month, just being cold, having the Germans drop artillery on top of them, and then after a month, on seemingly a random day, they get orders to move out. They've got some dangerous mission they're supposed to go on. There's a town called Bergstein, and right next to that town is this gigantic hill known as Castle Hill by the Germans, but the Americans call it Hill 400 because it is 400 meters high. Hill 400 is the high ground of the Hurtzken Forest, and it is the reason that they're not making any headway in this battle because the Germans can see everything and they just call in artillery on top of them.
Meters high. Why'd you went to metric? I thought like military would be like imperial. I don't know.
Anytime they try to move forces forward. So the American forces have to take this hill and this town. The problem is every time they move an infantry regiment in, they just get beat back and nobody can seem to penetrate and take over this town and this hill. The last American unit that tried had just over 5,000 men and tanks and they failed. So now they're going to send in the 2nd Ranger Battalion with approximately 500 men. Lomell, his guys at Dog Company and F Company are going to be responsible for taking the hill, and all the other Ranger companies are going to be taking Bergstein. They spend the first 2 days sending out patrols, finding every single German machine gun nest and fortification, and after they know where every single German is, they launch a surgical attack and they're able to capture both Bergstein and the hill in an hour and a half. But the problem is both Dog and Fox Company commanders got killed during this attack, and now Lomell is the only officer on the hill and he is in charge of everything. So now he's got to hold this hill for the next 24 hours till reinforcements show up. It shouldn't be that hard, but what Leonard Lomell doesn't know is that the only objective that the Germans care about in the Hurtzken Forest is Hill 400. You see, Hill 400 is high enough that if the Allies have it, they're going to be able to see far enough into enemy lines that they're going to be able to see a massive German force amassing, and they're going to know that a major German offensive is coming, and that is what is the Ardennes offensive, or the...
Yeah, this is basically Assassin's Creed's like the eagle viewing point, right? Synchronization point. This is fucking important. Of course, it would make sense if it's like a high point like that. And yeah, Lomell is the... I thought it was going to be the gun thing that was like the most important thing, but I guess it's this one, keeping this hill there.
Battle of the Bulge. This is Hitler's last-ditch effort to turn the tide of World War II, and it relies heavily on the element of surprise, and if the Allies have Hill 400 and they see it coming, it could ruin the entire plan. So the Germans absolutely have to retake this hill. And because of that, the German general in charge sends in his best infantry unit with the orders that whoever's able to retake that hill is all going to get their men Iron Crosses, which is like a very high-ranking German medal for valor, and they're all going to get 2 weeks of leave. Back on the hill, Lomell immediately orders all of the Rangers to start digging foxholes because he knows a fight might be coming, he just doesn't know how bad, and either way, you need foxholes to play defense, so that's what they try to do. Problem, it's winter, there's snow and ice all over the ground, and there's tree roots all over this dirt, so whatever foxholes they're able to dig, they're not very deep. So an hour later, when the German artillery starts landing, it absolutely devastates every Ranger on top of that hill. Almost every Ranger on top of the hill is hit with shrapnel from German artillery. It's just a matter of how bad their individual injuries are. Lomell himself is also hit in the hand, and his index finger is dangling by a piece of connective tissue. Between Dog and Fox Company, about 130 Rangers attack this hill, and right out of the gate, Lomell is already down to about 40 men that can move around and actually fight, and his mom's going to be pissed off because he's not going to be able to play the piano with 9 fingers. Lomell immediately realizes that playing conventional defense isn't going to work. He doesn't really have many foxholes, and even if he did, he doesn't have enough men to man them. So he decides the best defense is a good offense. He sends out 2 men.
You know what the insane thing is? That I don't think Lomell or people like that really realize like how important this gonna be, or like how important this war is going to be. And this Normandy, I mean, we know it now in hindsight, but at the time, yeah, I mean, he's thinking about all the things about his home and things like what we're gonna do and not. I guess, I mean, obviously, like, people know this is important, but how important? Because they don't know if there's going to be World War III or not. They don't know if there's atomic bombs are coming or not. They don't know how fucked up this is going to be. They don't know how important this is going to be. Is Normandy going to be successful enough that it's going to be enough to repel back? So they were playing one of the most important roles in war history. And they probably don't even know that.
2-man scout squads, and they're going to patrol around the base of the hill. And whenever they see that the Germans are starting to set up an attack, they're going to report back where the Germans are going to attack. And all of the men that Lomell has, all 40 to 50 guys, are going to run and meet that attack head on and drive them back. And that's exactly what happens. Shortly after that shelling, the Germans attack. Lomell and his men meet them head on. They drive them back. They get shelled again. They scout, they find where the Germans are going to attack again, they meet it head on again, and this goes on over and over and over again. Lomell and his men are running around all over this hill, getting in every single firefight that there is, and when they're not doing that, they're trying to render aid to all the guys that are wounded. But to the Germans, it feels a lot different because every time they try to attack from a different spot at a different angle, they run face first into 50 pissed off Army Rangers. So the Germans are thinking there's like 1,000 Army Rangers on top of this hill, but regardless, they keep on attacking and they keep on shelling them. And after 24 hours, when they're supposed to be getting reinforcements, Lomell is down to himself and about 25 other men that can fight. He calls for reinforcements, but there's none available because the Germans are also furiously attacking the town next to the hill as well. D-Day is commonly referred to as the longest day, but according to Lomell, this was by far the longest day of his life, and it made D-Day look like child's play. Which sounds absolutely crazy, but if anybody would know, it's him. At this point, there's no reinforcements on the way. He has a ton of injured men, a ton of men have been killed, and he only has like 25 guys left that can even kind of fight. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, Lomell's job was to like breach the cliff and destroy artillery. He did, and then like he hold out the road. So for him, that was relative success compared to now, where he's like have to like defense and like wait for reinforcement. I guess other people at other beaches that were really fucked up and like caught up really bad, they might have different take of things. But yeah, this is just all over insane, man.
That he can't keep doing this much longer, if at all. So at this point, Lomell pulls his NCOs aside and asks them what they think about retreating. He figures they can get all the ambulatory men off the hill, and all the men that are too wounded to be moved can be captured by the Germans. He's been fighting them for the past 6 months, and he knows that the Germans are at least going to give them aid and take care of them to some degree.
The best we came up with, sir, is like, fuck it, Fuck it.
It's gonna be a shit show no matter what we do.
All right. Fuck it.
Every single one of his sergeants is against him.
Have you watched Yellowstone? It's really fun. I don't find a lot of shows fun nowadays. I don't know why. It's like my threshold has risen at a point, like something really interesting need to be there. Yellowstone was one of those shows. I don't think I've finished the last season because I realized it's the last season. I don't know. I'm like that. If I know the end is coming, just like, it's like investment goes kind of like, I'm going to finish it, but still. It was really good show, man.
And they are ready to fight to the death about it. So Lomell says, okay, that's what we'll do. And the next day, they do the exact same thing all over again. And somehow they managed to hold on to this hill. That night, after 40 hours of straight combat, the Germans finally let up, and Lomell's able to radio down to the town and say that it's all quiet on the hill. And apparently they stopped attacking at the town too. So the Rangers down there are finally able to come up and start helping carry all of these wounded men down from this hill. Worth noting, if you've never carried a grown man on a litter, it is a motherfucker of a job, and that's if it's in good conditions in daylight on level ground. I can't imagine having to carry this many men in the dark down a hill covered in snow on a litter after 40 hours of straight combat. But the Rangers somehow managed to get it done, and despite his hand being messed up, Lomell is the last man to leave the top of that hill as he lets the other Rangers take it over. During the 40 hours of combat for Hill 400, Lomell and 106 other Rangers were wounded and 19 men were killed in action. 24 hours after the other Rangers take over, they hand it over to another Army unit that relieves them, and 9 days after that, Hill 400 is retaken by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge. When the Battle of the Bulge kicks off, Lomell is in a convoy headed back to Paris, hopefully to get surgery to save his finger, and because this major German...
That is so fucked up. Imagine getting that news, like, after all those loss, after losing your finger and everything, like... Germans still took over the hill. I guess that was like too strategic for Germans to let go of, so they would just like divert all resources there. I mean, you can kind of see that, but yeah.
Offensive just kicks off. His convoy gets diverted and they have to go hold a road in case the Germans show up there. And sure enough, they do. So now, Lomell, being the only officer there, has to lead this ragtag group of whoever the fuck soldiers into combat to fight the Germans. He does. They repel the Germans, but Lomell ends up getting burned and blown up and is now suffering from internal bleeding. So now he's in a field hospital getting treated for internal bleeding, and while he's in there, General Eisenhower signs an order that any soldier that's been wounded...
This feels like an SNL skit or something. First he gets shot, right? Now he gets his finger blown up. Now he got burned and blown up. Okay, slowly just like damage is racking up. By the end of it, he's gonna start limping at one leg with barely any flesh on it. It's like, yeah, mission success. That's just fucked up.
at least twice and has earned a medal for valor gets 30 days of leave. Lomell qualifies and he absolutely wants to go home for a month, understandably so. The problem is the doctor's not going to release him until he can submit a stool sample that shows that he's not still suffering from internal bleeding. So he does what absolutely anybody would do. He has one of his buddies shit in that cup for him and then he goes home.
What am I, a chimpanzee?
Once he gets home, he has to undergo multiple surgeries to save the use of his hand. Once it's all said and done, the war's basically over. He's not getting shipped back overseas. So then Leonard Lomell goes back home and he proceeds to do absolutely nothing, which completely justified. The guy probably needs a minute to decompress. So this goes on for a couple of months, and after a while, his mom has finally had enough of it.
I mean, imagine that him sitting in the porch on a chair. He's seen some things. By that, you can definitely say, of all the shit with the climbing of the cliff, destroying everything, fighting Nazis over and over again, holding the fort with a hill 400, whatever, all, after all that shit, yeah, he's seen something. There you go. With all the injuries, missing finger.
Then she's like, Leonard, go talk to that girl you were talking to before the war or something. Get out of my house. And Lomell is like...
Before the war, it's like, what the fuck? I don't even remember that. Oh, yeah, there was a girl there. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Mom, I don't have anything. I don't have a car. I sent all the money I made during the war back home to you guys so you guys could get by. I didn't save any for myself. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. At which point, Mom, being a complete badass, is like, here you go, kid. I saved $1,500 out of the money you sent me. And he's able to go and buy a brand new car. So he shows up with his new wheels, impresses his old sweetheart, Charlotte. They start dating again. He starts going to law school. He graduates law school. He marries Charlotte. Couple of years into being a lawyer, he gets in trouble because he wrestles with another lawyer inside of the judge's office to settle a dispute. But, you know, everything's going great. It's fantastic. Ends up having a bunch of kids, running his own law firm. The poor kid that was literally catching fish and clams and selling them to restaurants during the Great Depression that grew up dirt poor is now a millionaire lawyer, and he is living the American dream. And my favorite part of the story is he gets older in his late 50s, his 60s, his 70s. He gets the opportunity.
I like how he just started with like some dirt poor guy who was like, you know, doing all these side quests to just make money, chopping wood in Skyrim, and then he becomes millionaire. I think we missed World War II between there, D-Day and everything, pretty important shit. But yeah, look at how much. By the way, I was this, then I did the World War II thing. By the way, I'm also like millionaire lawyer now. I'm living 3 lifetimes at once.
To go back to the places that he had battles in World War II. He gets to go back to Point du Hoc. He gets to go back to Hill 400. And when he's at Hill 400, he's kind of a celebrity and everybody wants to talk to him, and it's because the German historians and the German active duty military people there that are giving him the tour and everything want to know how many men did he have on top of that hill. And he's like, not many, why? And the Germans showed him their books and translated it from their perspective, and up until this point, they had always been under the impression that the Americans had a massive force on top of Hill 400, and that's why the Germans weren't able to retake it. Not only did Lomell's battle tactic work at the time, but it worked so well that he had them fooled for 40 years after the fact. Now, because Hill 400, and by extension the entire battle of the Hurtgen Forest, was such an unnecessary and bloody battle, it was deemed a huge embarrassment and failure by the upper level leaderships of the US military. Because of that, a lot of the men that partook in that battle that did courageous, heroic, incredible things like Lomell, they never ended up getting the recognition they deserved.
Yeah, that pisses me off. I've seen that coming. Oh, by the way, that wasn't like strategically important. That's all your problem. That's generals' problems. Like that, what are battle masters? That's their problem. Like war table people who sits on top of like a map on a war table in an AC room, whatever. Not AC room, but yeah. It's their problem, right? Okay, certain things was a failure, certain things wasn't at a grander scheme, that's your thing. But the people who actually try to do the objective, it's not their issue, right? Like, when somebody puts their life on the line, objective is not their issue, they're following orders. It's your issue. So how does that, like, they should get recognition. Like, regardless of their failure or not, like, they did their duty, right? They put their life on the line. That doesn't make sense. How are you going to judge them based on like your strategic failure? That doesn't make sense.
Because the upper level leadership just didn't want to acknowledge that this battle even happened. They just wanted to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. Despite that, over 60 years after the fact, Lomell would finally get awarded a Silver Star for his actions on Hill 400 in 2007. In the later years of his life, Leonard Lomell would end up getting a lot of attention for being the hero that he was during World War II. And his response to that was always, we weren't heroes, we were just good rangers. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. You know what? I'm just going to level with you guys. There's no way that you can research people like this and not feel like a giant bitch the entire time, okay? I feel like a big tough guy because I can do a lot of push-ups and I've been doing jujitsu for 15 years. And then you start reading about Bud Lomell, who got shot at D-Day and didn't just walk it off. He proceeded to climb a 100-foot cliff in 10 minutes after getting shot, while he's also continuing to get shot at by Nazis with machine guns. And then he goes and takes out an entire artillery battery by himself, saving tens of thousands of people. And that's just the beginning of this dude's story. Dudes were just built different back then. I don't even know. Regardless, I guess now at least we know the answer to who's the most important man at D-Day. Thanks for watching. I gotta go.
When our ears returned to normal and I was sitting with Jack that night or the next night, Jack said, "It's a damn good thing you didn't need me to fire my weapon. I only had one clip." He only had one clip. I said, where was your other ammunition? He said, "I lost it when we were running down that road, and I don't know where. I just had one clip in my pocket, one clip in my submachine gun." And I said, "Well, why didn't you ask me for mine?" He said, "I didn't think about it." So I practically got an unarmed guy up there.
See, it's what I assumed. I said it, right? Like, he's probably like, I'm not gonna need that. I'm not gonna think about this. Yeah, Lomell's got it, right? He's not gonna fail this. Come on. It's easy, man. Factorism point is really good, right? Like, nowadays, like, if you try to do anything like that, where's my Gatorade? I'm feeling like I'm having a hypertension or whatever the fuck right now, right? I'm breathing heavy, blood pressure is much higher. I need a rest now. These people had like food poisoning, got shot at, climbed the cliff, destroyed all this cannon. That was just the start, and then he was sent back. Okay, I think you did enough. Like, you don't need to go back. Fuck that. He just ran back and did the Hill 400 and everything. He's like, people were built differently. And I think, I've thought about this a lot, right? In fighters and like even in WWE, people think about this a lot. Like, why are newer generation people not same as back then? In many ways, physicality and everything. And whenever you hear about like ridiculous people like Brock Lesnar and things, right? You always hear about story of like them having tough childhood, where they didn't have TVs and things, and they were singularly focused. I'm just doing wrestling, NCAA, that's it. Because I work at farm, I do nothing, I just do farm things. Today's people are living in such a level of luxury, Netflix, Call of Duty, PlayStations, Xbox, all that, computers and things. We can't compare to those type of people. Because those are some like, one singular goal with a strong-minded people. It's all about here in the end of the day, right? You can't, if your finger blows up and you still do something, if you get shot 3 days ago, you don't even realize that. That's the mentality, right? If I get shot today, I'll bitch for hours until somebody literally have to put me anesthetic or something before I go to sleep. That's the difference between back then and today, right? Imagine bullet shot. You get shot today. Just imagine that. How fucked up that is. It's like, oh, bullet shot. It's just video game. I'll just like, put like Band-Aid there and I'm going to heal. The meter's going to fall. There you go. Well, that was the most important man of D-Day, Leonard, Bud Lomell, by Channel Factory. If you like my reason, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.